Bet on Bears fans, another edition of the Chicago Bears podcast coming your way. Panther designer Jason McKie in the building. As always, man, a lot to get into. Draft day is tomorrow. I believe we are officially 24 hours away from the draft.
Finally.
Probably by the time this video drops.
Finally.
Yeah, I know. J Mack, listen, we're on mock 796.
Bruh.
Everybody's got a different opinion. I have watched the first overall pick drop all the way to 31. Yeah. And somehow somebody in the 7th round has made their way to the Bears at 10. It's always fun going through mock draft season, but we do got a few final topics that I think are interesting, especially seeing some of the comments from the players coming out of today. We got to talk about Ashton Genty and some of the things that he had to say, and just the conversation for me and Cunningham yesterday about, where they would be as far as possibly trading up. Could that be on the table for the Chicago Bears for a running back? Yeah, no, I think about it. Is there anyone that is worth trading up for in this draft? And Will Campbell with some interesting comments about where he would play if the Chicago Bears were to draft him. And of course, new segment on this show. I said, of course, like y'all knew what it was, but y'all know what it is. Dog of the week. We're going to be doing that every single week with Jason McKie. J Mack's dog of the week. There's some dogs out there, J Mack, in this NBA playoffs right now.
Yeah,
There's
it is,
some dogs out there. And, Shannon Sharp. All that and more in today's episode of the Chicago Bears podcast. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. We do want to let you guys know today's episode is brought to you by the Advantage Dealer Group. Find your next Chevy, Toyota, or Acura and drive off in under 60 minutes, or they'll make your first car payment. Also brought to you by the Hard Rock Casino in Northern Indiana. Las Vegas-style gaming, just 30 minutes from Soldier Field, exit 6, all right off of I-80-94. J-Mac, what's going on, my guy? How you feeling today, man?
All good, man. All good. The guys, we got some work in this morning, got on the field, got rained on a little bit, but got some good work in. Then the guys went in the weight room and continued our off-season lifting program. So it's just off-season for high school. There's no draft and nothing like that. But obviously we're trying to get better. Season's upon us. Summer camp practices will be commencing here in the summer. So I'm excited, man. It's been going good. Had some of the guys actually come out to the school last week, some of the Bears D linemen, and got some work in. So yeah, it's been cool, man. It's like you talked about mock drafts. I'm a degenerate. I probably watch every single mock draft just because there's nothing else going on in the offseason right now until tomorrow when officially the NFL draft kicks off. So excited to see what our beloved Bears do. If they're going to stay at 10, if they're going to move up, move down. Yeah. We're finally going to get some answers after months of speculation.
One of my favorite ones I saw was yesterday on Threads, which is Instagram's version of Twitter. They had different people who were like big influencers on Threads and big influencers in their own right. Tweet out who they would have each team pick that they were a fan of. I thought that was really cool. Like, it was just this collection of people. I think the Bears ended up taking Tyler Warren in that situation, which, I mean, at a certain point, it's about who's left on the board, but we'll see if that ends up playing out. One thing, though, about all of this that I do find interesting is the conversation around Ashton Genty. Listen, the mocks have been nonstop, and I think that it's the fire has gotten even hotter with some of the comments that Ian Cunningham and Ryan Poles made yesterday, talking from the podium. Ian Cunningham, when asked point blank, okay, do you care about positional value, or do you care about going out and getting a playmaker? Ian Cunningham was like, listen, you got to weigh the long term of a pick versus what's happening right now. But if there's a playmaker there, you take the playmaker. And I think most of us heard that and went, oh, okay. That means if Ashton Genty is there, they are going to take Ashton Genty. When you hear those comments, though, J Mack, and we've heard that paired with the fact that it's been reported that the Bears love Genty. Yeah, and it seems like Genty's doing a little pandering today with the somebody asked him, well, how do you feel about Green Bay being up here? And he's like, there's nothing to do. I was like, okay, we got some Bears fans pandering.
He's right. He's being honest. He's right. It's trash. It's garbage. Any adjective you need to describe it. Horrible. Trash juice.
Literal doo-doo water.
Horrible.
If you love a player that much, though, right? Usually it's we have to get him. That's our guy. We're getting him at all costs. Would you be in the market of going up to get Ashton Genty if he fell to a spot that you didn't expect them to fall to, right? I think most people have them 5 or 6 to Jacksonville and or the Raiders. If he gets to that 7th pick, he may not make it to you at 10. Would you be in the market to try and trade up to go get him?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's like you talked about, the conviction that the Bears have for a player, whether it be Ashton Genty or anybody else, right? The conviction, their overall conviction of, we love this guy. We feel like he can come in and help change the he can help come and change the future of this franchise, but also come in and contribute right away. Because I think when you're picking in the top 10, right? Bears are picking 10. I think you got to have a guy that can come in right away and contribute. Look at Darnell Wright a couple of years ago. He was 10 pick, came in his rookie year, right, Pat? He started every game at right tackle. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to have that type of impact player if you're going to move up. But I think if just picking in the top 10, you got to have that type of impact player. And, with Jeanty, I love the player. Obviously, the tape's the tape. He can do everything in terms of schematically, whatever type of run game scheme you have, he can do it. He's adequate in pass protection. And one thing that I think he doesn't get a lot of credit for is his ability to come out of the backfield and catch the ball, which is another thing that elite backs in this league have to be able to do well. So when you look at his overall tape, right, he's truly a 3-down back, right? I don't have to take him out of the game and put somebody else in on 3rd down because I can keep him in because, one, I trust him in pass protection, but 2, if I do need to flex him out or motion him out, he can create a mismatch on a linebacker, right, or even a safety that may be covering him, depending on what type of coverage they're implementing on that particular play. So I do like him. I like the background. He's a military kid like myself. The Bears have had quite a few military kids, Pat, that you probably didn't even know about. Charles Tillman, Tommy Harris.
Peanut, because we had
Charles
him on.
Tillman,
he told
Army.
us when he was on the show.
Yeah, Dad was Army. Tommy Harris.
Already, but he told me when he was on the show.
Yeah, Tommy Harris, Dad was Army. Myself, it was Air Force. My dad was Air Force. So I think Bernard Berrien's dad was Army as well. So I like that because now you're getting a kid that was brought up differently. Like he said, he traveled. He's been around the world. I traveled a lot when I was younger. So
a little extra discipline too, probably.
A
little extra discipline too.
That's
just
what I mean.
A little bit more regimented.
Heck yeah, man. And then he like there was an interview I looked at the other day that Ashton Genty conducted, and he talked about, his experiences in military and moving around a lot enabled him to adapt to different situations, right? So, him coming to a big city, a big change compared to being out there in Boise. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Big change, big market here, but he's been around the world. He's moved around his whole life, so I don't think it'd be too big for him. And I just like him, man. He just seems like an overall solid individual. So if that's your guy and you feel like you can move up and go get him, then hey, I mean, it is what it is. And if they covered that playmaker, I mean, he's one of the best playmakers in this draft. So if that's your guy, you go get him. But what's the cost? That's my thing. And I think the caveat to that, Pat, and I knew we were going to talk about it, is, picking at 10, I think even if you did hold tight at number 10, you still have the ability to get a playmaker and still have the ability to get a running back later on in the draft. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be playmakers at 10 as well. I mean, like you talked about Tyler Warren, you talk about Colston Loveland. Yep. What type of personnel groupings is Ben Johnson going to implement, most of the time this year? Is it going to be 12? If it's going to be 12 personnel, then you got to be really looking at Tyler Warren, a guy that can do a lot of different things. I mean, Colston Loveland, a guy who's not as rugged as Tyler Warren, but a guy that can really stretch the defense vertically in terms of the passing game. So it's going to be plenty of options at 10. What's the cost to go up and get a guy? If it's Jeanty, if you feel like that's your guy, what would the cost be?
Now, listen, perfect timing on this, as this shout out to everybody who knows that I do this, that always sends me the information.
You always
got this tweet sent to me. This is per Pat Leonard, who is an NFL columnist and Giants beat writer. He just put this bit of information out about the Chicago Bears. Bears are looking to move up from the number 10 pick, and 6 teams ahead of them are open to moving back. So we are now having possibly a real conversation. Now, again, right, we all know this is lying season. This is like,
hey, that's what I'm saying.
Hey, J Mack, I'm the Bears GM real quick. Hey, we would love to move up to the number 1 overall pick and select Cam Ward with the number 1 overall pick.
That's
just
what I'm
put
saying.
Pressure on the Titans to see if they want to trade. But like, there's a ton of lying going on this time of year. But when you hear something like that, again, this is per Pat Leonard, who is a Giants beat writer for the New York Daily News and an NFL columnist here. I'm just double checking all the information to make sure I'm not getting
get that burner account.
Bears are looking to move up from the number 10 pick, and 6 teams ahead of them are open to moving back. I would assume one of the 6, because he is writing this, is the Giants as well. Now, the Jeanty conversation is all well and good, and I think, listen, like, would I be happy if you traded the world to move up and go get a running back? No, y'all know how I feel about it. I think that you can get better value there. But I feel like now this opens a lot of different conversations up outside of just the Ashton Genty part of it that now we can delve into, right? Could you move up for Mason Graham? You're talking about 6 teams. You're sitting at 10. That would put you at 4, right? Put you in that 4 range.
Yeah. Because
are you trying to go get Abdul Carter? How much are you really looking to spend if you're the Chicago Bears? And J Mack, me and Courtney talked about this yesterday. If the feeling and the vibe that has come out of Halas Hall has been win now. And it hasn't just been win now. Remember what Rome said when he was on with me and you. It's win now, but win big. Like, blow teams out, dominate teams. Yeah. If you feel like that's where your team is, are you now in that Philadelphia Eagles mindset where the Eagles said, yeah, we don't mind spending money on Saquon Barkley? You know why? Because we got the offensive line. We got the defensive line. I got linebackers. I got DBs. I got a quarterback. I got a head coach. I got OC. I got everything that I need. We just need this one piece. If that's where Ben Johnson and this Bears team feels like they're at, sounds like they're more than willing to gamble a lot to go get the name that they want.
Yeah, and I think, you bring up a good point. You talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, landing Saquon Barkley last year in free agency, and he pretty much ran them to a Super Bowl ring. It's about having playmakers at every level of that particular phase. And we're talking offense right now. So when I talk about levels, obviously I'm going to start with the offensive line. Yes, offensive linemen can be playmakers. You know what I'm saying? Those are the guys responsible for the big plays to happen. Those are the guys responsible for just the routine play to happen, right? Whether it's in the run game, pass protection, you got to have playmakers on that offensive line. And, free agency this year, we got Joe Tooney, who's a playmaker. You got Drew Dahlman, potential to be a really good center. He's been a good center, but he'll be a good fit here. He's a playmaker, right? But also, not just in terms of those guys being playmakers, those guys being culture builders, but also being multipliers in every sense of the word in terms of your daily preparation, practice, games, because they have experiences that can help young guys. You know what I'm saying? So you look at Drew Dahlman, the communication aspect will be key for a young quarterback like Caleb Williams, who, he's not going to see it. He's not going to be able to diagnose and recognize everything because, yes, he's going to be a second year in the league. Yes, he's a very smart quarterback, but he hasn't seen everything. When you have veteran guys like a Drew Dahlman, Joe Tooney's been around one of the best quarterbacks in the game right now. And Patrick Mahomes,
best quarterbacks in the game.
Yeah, and exactly. Exactly. You know what I mean? So that, I think, you place the value on those guys. Are they good players? Yeah, they're playmakers on an offensive line, but they're also multipliers because of the knowledge and the opportunity to be able to elevate the play of not just the quarterback, but the other offensive linemen along that offensive line. Yeah. And then you look at, your running backs. You want to have playmakers at that level. So the Eagles had Saquon, obviously a playmaker, took a lot of pressure off that quarterback. And then you got the receivers. We got receivers. We got DJ. We got Rome. You look at it tight end. We got Cole and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's about having playmakers, the guys that can impact the game. You can impact the game at every level of your offense. And you hear Ben Johnson talking about we want to win now, but win big. We want to score points. So I think it's, like we talked about, if Genty's your guy and you feel like he's a prospect that can just completely elevate your offense, but not only that, take pressure off your quarterback so that way Caleb doesn't have the pressure of going out there and throwing for 300 yards a game, then if you feel like you can do that and move up and the price is not too high, but you feel like the price is worth it, then you go get your guy.
Yeah, listen, I think that is a great conversation. For Jeanty, for me, I think that'd be interesting. But if it is your guy, it is your guy, right? And if Ben Johnson feels like that's where the team is, that's a heck of a gamble. Coach it up. Right, that is trading up to make sure that you get Ashton Genty, in my mind, is pushing every single chip in that you have on the table and saying, this team does not suck.
Yeah.
Matt Eberflus did.
Mm-hmm.
This team does not suck. Shane Waldron did.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb Williams is that dude. Right, we can go out here and win with him right now. I look at this team that we have currently. We can win 10 games. We just need this piece here, this piece here, this piece here, right? And you got a ton of draft capital to go get it. Again, when Ian Cunningham and Ryan Poles brought this up about the playmakers and the blue chip pieces that you have in this draft, Ryan Poles just blatant about it. He said, "Listen, there's a couple of guys. There's not a bunch of guys. It doesn't go deep in this draft where you're sitting there like, oh, I got a superstar here at 45 in the draft. Now, do I think that there will be some? Yeah. I mean, I'm sure nobody thought that Derrick Henry was going to turn into the monster that he did, and he went in the second round of the NFL draft.
Yeah.
Now you look back at that, and it's like anybody could have seen that Derrick Henry was going to be this dominant monster with how he ran over everybody in the SEC. But if you've got your guy, right, and to me, the Genty conversation is one. I think the Mason Graham conversation is a massive one right now, J Mack, if you're going to talk about trading up, because when talking to Dennis Allen one-on-one, number one, he talked about some of the edges that he has on this team currently and kind of where they would slate. And he said, listen, I like my edges bigger. I like guys ideally 280, 290, somewhere in that range, right? But he talked about the pressure coming up the middle, and he said it's better. I asked him point blank, are you in a spot where you feel comfortable with the pressure coming up the middle? He said, it's better. That doesn't mean that it can't improve. Improvement for me as far as pressure up the middle, improvement for me as far as adding a blue chip piece outside of, and again, it would be an edge piece if you went and got Abdul Carter. That's a long way to go. But outside of that, I think you're having the conversation of Mason Graham being the guy that's there for the taking, 6 teams being very specific to me, because if 6 teams ahead of the Bears are looking to move up, that means probably in your mind you're trying to get either Jacksonville's pick or try and get in front of Jacksonville to be able to take Mason Graham so that you don't lose that guy, especially knowing that your defensive coordinator wants that pressure up the middle.
Yeah, you got to be able to dent the middle of the pocket, because now if you look at how offenses are starting to evolve now, right? Quarterbacks, especially when they're in gun, they're not taking as deep of a drop in gun. Why? Because the deeper you set in gun, the more opportunities it has for those edge guys to get upfield, right? They're rushed to a spot. They're rushed to a landmark. So what you see now is quarterbacks in gun, they're not taking that deep drop. They're taking 1 or 2 steps out of gun and then delivering that ball. So if you have the ability to dent the middle of that pocket or get pressure with your front four, right, that causes a lot of problems for offenses, right? And offenses, obviously, how they've always have been designed is if you're struggling in pass protection, what are you trying to do? You want to get the ball out quick. Well, these quarterbacks in gun, they have the ability to show the defense play action right now. The ball, the defense can see the ball, and then you RPO off of that. But not being able to drop so deep, it limits the ability of the edge rusher to get upfield, because you're not setting back, you're not enabling them to get to that landmark. So, like you're talking about with a guy like Mason Graham being solid in the run game, but also being a disruptor in terms of, rushing the passer. Yeah, that's intriguing, because you look at the guys who you have, in the middle of that defense right now. Luckily, you got a Grady Jarrett in free agency, because you needed a guy that could be a consistent disruptor, right? The only guy that we had that was a disruptor was Javon Dexter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You look at Zach Pickens, who was a pretty high draft pick, who didn't get a lot of playing time last year. Let's be quite honest. And you look at Andrew Billings, who obviously is a beast in the run game, who, got some pressure on the quarterback, a few times last year before he was injured, but he's not a consistent pass rush. He's more of a run stopper. So it just gives you that versatility along the defensive line that you need, right? The different flavors and stuff like that you need. You hear Ben Johnson talking about having different flavors in terms of the types of wide receivers. Well, it's the same thing. You need to have different flavors in terms of the type of defensive lineman you have. And, I think Mason Graham is a guy who, the ability that he has is something that we don't have here, on this defense. Besides Grady Jarrett, I think that would be, the best comparison I could compare Mason Graham to with the current defensive line that we have.
Yeah, listen, and I think what's interesting about all of these pieces is, right, it just, to me, it signals this. It's so tough to say coming off a 5-win season, J Mack, but it signals a finality. You know what I mean? It signals hey, no, we're here. Like we are looking to be aggressive. We are looking to trade up. We are looking to have this conversation because we have this slew of picks. We're here. We don't need to have all of the glue guys that we could possibly get in this draft. We still want some of them.
Yeah.
But we don't need to have, I think the Bears have 8 picks in this upcoming draft. We don't need 8 picks. Maybe we can get it done with 4. Like I didn't feel like coming into this draft, that's where the Bears would be. The Mason Graham point, if that is what the Bears are looking to trade up for, and I don't know, it might be Ashton Genty, right? It could be any of these names here. Now, 6 teams, a lot of teams. If there's 6 teams looking to move back and the Bears are trying to move up, it all depends on the price as well. Has the game changed to the point where the focus should be that if you can get that guy that can create, not only dent the pocket, but Mason Graham can get to the quarterback as well. He's got some nice pass rush moves in the middle. That's where your focus should be. Has it changed to the point where the importance on the edge rush is nowhere near what it was when you were in the game?
I'm not gonna say it's I'm not gonna say it's changed where like the bigger emphasis is on interior pressure in terms of the interior defensive line.
Reason not to cut you off. Reason I asked because that's how it feels when Dennis Allen talks about it.
Yeah, for sure. But I think you got to look at it like this, right? When you look at the teams who have been successful in the Super Bowl, right? When you look at the teams that has dethroned Kansas City, it's been because of that defensive front, the ability to rush 4, right, and not to bring extra pressure, right? I don't have to dial up second level pressure, meaning I don't have to bring a linebacker. Third level pressure, meaning I don't have to bring a safety or a corner or something like that, some type of exotic pressure, because the ability to just rush 4. And we saw that in the Super Bowl, right? We talked about before we started this pod, Pat. We talked about the Eagles being able to get consistent pressure on Patrick Mahomes with their front 4 and then just drop 7. You know what I'm saying? Like that's, if you have the ability to do that, if you're especially an even front team or a 4-down defense in terms of their structure, then you're going to be successful. You know what I'm saying? And it just takes the pressure off of your secondary. And we heard that all last year, rush and cover. We got to rush and cover, which is true. It's very true.
Hey, I kept hearing 2 things last year, J Mack. We got to rush and cover, and we got to make sure we're in our gaps. We didn't do it.
Very true, though. It's true, and it's true, and that was the emphasis, especially when you look at this defense. You know, this defensive scheme. You've got to have the ability to get pressure with your front 4. You know what I'm saying? Just because it's going to take the pressure off the backing, off of your secondary, and it don't matter who you got out there. If I'm getting pressure with my front 4, it's that much easier for the secondary to go out there and cover, and the pressure's not just on them. So, yeah, I think the emphasis is, defensive line for sure. That's never going to change. It's always been like that.
Yeah. The other thing about technique before we get off of this, because now we got to talk about the Will Campbell topic, right? The one question I had, and you playing the running back position, playing fullback growing up, right? Ashton Genty, to me, the one knock we had on, well, not the one knock, the knock we had on Velus Jones as a running back was he was always in the backfield standing straight up. Ashton Genty does the same thing. Is that going to work at the NFL level? Is that going to be something that hinders him? Now, listen, he ran for 2,000 yards doing it in college. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he can't do it at the NFL level. But when I watch it, I'm just like, I wonder if he's just going to get stalled in half.
You talking about just stand up in terms of his stance pre-snap?
So his pre-snap stance, normally y'all are bent down and not like he's straight up.
No. Now this is the thing, and I know Coach Bieniemy, I don't know, Coach Bieniemy is old school. Obviously, he may, hey, 2-point stand. We're not standing up. We're not doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, from a running back perspective, That's not gonna have an impact on the play, right?
Doesn't do anything for the play. Okay.
No, standing up. I think if anything, it just really hides the fact whether or not you're going to run the ball. If you're actually you're going to pass protect, or you're not getting the ball. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times there's different things that defenses will read, right? They'll read a running back's eyes. A lot of running backs like to look where they're going to run or look to the side they're going to. But then the good running backs, they play mind games. They play tricks. They may be looking to the right, and they be running, and the play may be designed to go outside zone to the left. You know what I'm saying? So I think the main thing is that pre-snap stance, like, I don't know, like, if Ashton does come here, if that's his thing where Eric Bieniemy is like, no, all our running backs are going to be in a traditional 2-point stance. But here's the thing, as a running back, right, the main thing you got to know is, your alignment in terms of where they want you aligned, toes at 7 yards, toes at 7.5. My aiming points is going to be big. Aiming points outside zone, whether or not it's depending on, the coach or the scheme that they're running outside zone. Some people, that aiming points to outside leg of the tight end. Some people's the butt of the tight end. Inside zone, where's my landmark? Power, where's my landmark? Butt of the guard, inside leg of the guard, outside leg of the guard. That's just in terms of their preference, in terms of scheme. So those are the things that's going to be key. Those are the non-negotiables, I think. I think if you have a young back and Coach Bieniemy is like, look here, I don't care what stance you get in pre-snap, as long as you're hitting your aiming point, as long as your footwork is you have the proper footwork, you can stand straight up, you can bend, whatever you want. But he's a detailed guy, so he may want everybody to do the same thing. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, I didn't know if it was like you getting into the play a little bit slower, because the one thing about watching the Boise offense was it wasn't like a draw speed, but it did feel like when you snapped the ball, it was a little bit slower of like, all right, let's see what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
all
but
right, now take the ball and go.
Yeah, but it's all about timing. So here's the thing, like a lot of young backs in this league, they get the ball and they want to run right away. Well, the problem is when you have different gap scheme plays, especially power and counter, where you have a guard pulling, or when you have, a guard and you may have a tight end pulling. You may have a guard pulling to wrap inside for the first play side linebacker. You may have a tight end pulling and kicking out or something like that. It depends on what type of scheme you're running. Well, it's timing. So if I'm too fast, I'm going to get there before that guard's pulling and out of play screwed up. You know what I'm saying? So that's time. It depends on the run scheme, depends on the play call. Timing and footwork is very important.
And Ashton's patience is amazing. That's the one thing that I give him a lot of credit on.
Yeah, and we saw it last year, running outside zone. We saw my guy DeAndre Swift, who I still, I love DeAndre. I think he's has the opportunity to still be a really good back in this league. Yeah. But I think a lot of times with the guys in front of him, he didn't trust. So a lot of times he would get the ball and he would try to cut back too early instead of running his track on outside zone. You know what I mean? I think those are the things in terms of running back play. When you have a high-level coach like Eric Bieniemy, that's going to be the non-negotiables that all these running backs are going to have to be, on point on. It's going to be, your aiming points, footworks, landmarks, all of that stuff.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be interesting to see what the Bears do here. Let us know how you guys feel on Ashton Genty and or Mason Graham. Do you think that those could be names that the Bears trade up for? We heard from Campbell. Pat Leonard, again, of a Giants beat writer from New York Daily Sports News, that this is something that he is hearing. League source text. He says Chicago Bears looking to move up. Another league source, 6 teams ahead of the Bears at number 10 are open to moving back. So we'll see what happens. I think another name that fits in perfectly, though, with this move up conversation and hearing from him, this is per Jason Leisure today. Will Campbell said that when he talked to the Bears told him, if they draft me, I'm playing left tackle. That to me, listen, when I watch the tape, I've said this multiple times. When you watch the tape on him, he's in the SEC. He's in one of the top divisions in college football, top conferences in college football. He's a left tackle. Like the arm length, the leg length, I don't care if he's 4'2" and he's, like 240 pounds. If he's killing the dude on the other side that's also going to the NFL, he probably can do that at the NFL level. And we saw that a ton from Will Campbell. The question I have for you, J Mack, is now with the Bears in this move up conversation, Will Campbell maybe even somebody who's in place there. You've got Braxton Jones on this lineup. You've got Karan Amagaji on this lineup. You got to see both of those guys up close. This would be your second year in a row drafting a left tackle. Is that something you want to see the Bears trade up to do?
Yeah, I just think, I like Will Campbell, 4-year starter in the SEC. The resume, the tape speaks for itself. I think he can come and contribute right away. I would love it if the Bears can get him at 10. I don't think that's going to happen, but I would love it. I would love it if, but here's the thing. I think, we're talking about moving up so much. I think you're in a good spot at number 10 as well, because I just think sitting at number 10 as well, and, depending on how the board falls, you're still going to get an impact player. You know, whether it's an edge that falls to you at number 10, you know, Michael Williams, Jalen Walker, those guys could be there at number 10, depending on how the board falls. You look at some of the tackles, Kelvin Banks Jr., Armand Membo, you know what I'm saying? Those are all guys that could fall. I doubt Ashton Genty is going to fall to number 10, but there's still some solid running backs out there that you can get later on in the draft. Trevion Henderson, Omarion Hampton, Quinshawn Judkins. You know, there's so many backs, you know what I'm saying? So I think at number 10, I mean, and if you want, you know, Ben Johnson, okay, we're going to major in 12 personnel this year. We need another tight end to play alongside Cole Kmet. Well, guess what? At that number 10 spot, who could be there? It could be Tyler Warren. It could be Colson Loveland. So, like, I think if you sit pretty at number 10, you know, keep some of them picks later on in the draft to be able to add to your team and to grab other guys that can help you fill voids in your roster. I think you're fine there too. So I think that the Bears are in a great situation if they stay at number 10, that they still are going to get an impact player that they covet in this draft.
The only thing I would, just based off of Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham's comments, right? I do wonder if they look at some of those guys at 10 who I think, listen, I'm in lockstep with you. You know who my guy is, Mike Green. I want him. Like, I don't know if he fits Dennis Allen's system. I don't know if he fits Dennis Allen's I'll take pounds over power. But to me, you could pair up Khalil Mack with Montez Sweat. And I like that. I like Mike Green. The only thing that I would say is if Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham have gone through and all the scouts and all the coaches have gone through their process, Ryan Poles said this the other day that, you know, there's certain players that you look at 10 that you may see that same player at 37. You may have a same grade on that player.
Very true.
Right, continuing to go down the draft. And so that's kind of where I wonder if the Bears are in this conversation of, look, I get it. We can get this guy at 10 and we can get a Jalen Walker. We can get a Michael Williams. We can get a Omarion Hampton if we want. You still have pick of the litter on these players. But if you view it and say, yeah, but I also got it's not Michael Williams, but I can get I'm sorry, it's not a Kelvin Banks type name, but I can get a, you know, Ariante Ersery in the second round. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Josh Williams out of
maybe Shamar Stewart falls far enough for you where you're sitting there in the second round and you're like, I'll take a chance on him.
I got a name for you. Boston College guy, just like Ian Cunningham.
Donovan Iziriku?
Yeah, there you go. I had to look up the pronunciation. There you go. 16 and a half sacks last year. You know what I'm saying? The guy, but does he fit the scheme? He's only about 247 pounds.
Yeah, he listen,
more of an edge guy.
There's only one dude in this draft, I think. I believe there's only one dude in this draft that fits what Dennis Allen is looking for at the edge, and I think it's Nick Scorton. I think that's the only player that's above 290 in this draft. Apparently, I'm not going to get Willie Lampkin. You know, that's my dude. I want 5'9", 270 pounds, just moving people for Omarion. And I don't know what he's gonna do, but I want him on my team.
But here's the thing, though, right? Another thing too that we haven't talked about. You know, we're talking about the drafted guys. Look at the undrafted guys, and Poe talked about that. And I think did you ask him the question about
how he views undrafted players and finding undrafted gems? You forget. Like the reason I asked him that is because you forget T.J. Edwards was an undrafted linebacker. Yeah. And he's one of the best off-ball linebackers in the game.
A lot of undrafted guys have had a lot of success in this league.
Jason McKie.
But I mean, it's a long list of guys that are undrafted, like in this league, not just with the Bears, just in this league in general, that have came in and made an impact. And you know, like if you look at Ryan Poles, he lit up when you asked him that question. Like, man, if you get a couple of those guys, like, oh man, you're cooking. Like, you really are, because those are guys who, I mean, you're getting. You know, after the draft, they're coming in, they're adding value, they're playing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's huge. So it's, you know, we're going to overemphasize and, you know, talk about the first round, but it's the draft as a whole. You know, collectively, what did we bring in collectively? What is our draft grade collectively? We're not just grading if we pick at 10, we move up, we get that player in the first round. Collectively, how did we do overall? You know, in terms of bringing in guys that can help this team, or guys that have the potential of developing and being key contributors of this team. And that's where, you know, you've got to keep doing your homework. You got to, and I think it was awesome too. He talked about how, you know, he brought the coordinators in and all the coaches in, brought the defensive side of the ball, talked to every position coach. Hey, Al Harris, what do you covet in terms of a defensive back in the scheme? You know what I mean? Like that's very important because now the scouts in Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham knows exactly. They know the scheme, but now they know the traits and the tools that these guys are looking for within their scheme, the type of players they're looking for within their scheme to be able to make their scheme successful, to be able to make it grow, to make it go. So I think that's very important when you hear things like that. You know, being on the same page, being in unison in terms of developing this roster and making this team.
Yeah, I feel like hearing the trade up rumors that are out there now and the conversation around, going to get one of those pieces, I think it over enforces, right, not only just the undrafted market, but also how the Bears probably feel about where guys are ranked in this draft. I remember Ryan Poles at the owners meeting would say, listen, you can have the same grade on a guy at 10 in this draft that you have on a dude at 30, 40, 50. It's like, that's a different kind of draft. And I think people look at that and they say, oh, that's a bad draft. There's not a lot of talent in this draft. For me, I look at it and I say, this is where you build your teams at. Yeah. I would rather have more picks than not in this draft because I think that this is a draft, and let me know if you agree, J Mack, where most of the NFL is made up. Everybody calls them glue guys, right? It's a lot of glue in this league. Most of the NFL is made up of the guys that aren't the superstar players. Yes, you need your superstars. You need your Pat Mahomes. You need your Travis Kelce's. But who's the unknown offensive lineman that comes in and he was a 5th round pick or a 6th round pick, and all of a sudden he makes a huge impact. Now we know Trey Smith is a household name and a stud. But he wasn't that in the 6th round, right? Like you find those guys that can give you that little bit of extra or give you that little bit of glue. And if you have enough of those guys on your team, then you just need a couple of big name pieces to put you over the top.
Yeah, 100%. You got to have, guys that are role players. Everybody's not going to be a superstar, but at the same time, that superstar running back breaks free for a 70-yard touchdown. Well, the role players and the unsung heroes are the guys responsible for it. So the team's got to be made up the right way. And, I think that's like you're talking about, just, being able to draft well in its entirety, even after the draft in terms of undrafted guys, that's where teams get better. Those are the teams that make the playoffs. Those are the teams that are consistent winners in this league because the rosters are going to change throughout the year. Guys are going to get hurt. Who's the next man up? Does the next man up have the potential to fill the void of that starter and there's no drop off? So that's why it's so important that you're drafting well, not just for, the blue chip guys, but just overall in terms of depth. It's very huge. So it's going to be interesting to see, man. I'm real excited. I know all the Bears fans are excited, man. We're going to see how this thing plays out. All the speculation is out the window. And the funny thing is, like, look, I mean, besides the Titans, and maybe the Browns, nobody knows, like the Titans know, hey, we're going Cam Ward. We're going to get him. We got the first pick. But everybody else, I mean, it's all, you don't know how the draft's going to fall. Yeah. You heard Ian Cunningham say yesterday, this is going to be a wild one. This is going to be a wild draft because you don't know what's going to happen. Somebody's going to end up taking, the Patriots are going to end up taking somebody that you didn't think they had on their board, and it's going to change the whole outcome of the draft. But that's why, these teams have, months and months of, or not months, but months and months of work have gone into this
last year.
Exactly. It's gone into this. They planned out every different scenario that could happen. And then the scenario that you didn't play out is the one that's going to happen. So it's, we'll see what happens, man. It's exciting.
I literally said yesterday, I would be more surprised if this draft goes as planned than if all of a sudden like Jackson Dart was the 9th overall pick. Like I expect something like that to be happening versus everybody's just Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter. It just goes perfectly down, and then we're just sitting there like, oh, okay, this is exactly what we thought was going to happen.
I wouldn't be surprised if Jackson Dart goes before Shedeur. I wouldn't be surprised he's the second quarterback they come up.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I'm not hearing. I think Shedeur is talented. I think Shedeur will be talented. I think Shedeur will have a good career.
Yeah,
I think Shedeur acts a lot like Deion, which that's his dad. He's supposed to, right? Like, but you ain't got Deion level production to back that up.
Yeah.
Like Deion coming in, running a 40 time in Converse, and what is it, 4.2, and basically saying, okay, I'm leaving now. Y'all made me run this 40 and I'm out.
Yeah.
Deion Sanders could have went and played in Major League Baseball and been a rookie draft pick that went straight to the league. Like, that's a different type of athlete. I think when you get that from Shedeur, people look at it and go, hey, listen, your numbers in college are good. I love what you look like when you're protected. This is the NFL. You're a little too cocky for me. Like, they gonna knock your block off, and then what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. It's always going to be something that's going to happen, a trade you didn't expect. It's going to be a name called that in the first round or maybe in the top 10 that nobody had in their mock draft. Happens every year.
All right, now are you like me where I think Shedeur went into a lot of these meetings and was also like, it ain't no way I'm trying to play for the Giants. Let me act out in this month. I'm not trying to be with you. I'm not trying to. Tomlin want to meet with me? Mr. Tomlin, pleasure to meet you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you for having this meeting with me. I love being here. You know, big fan. Think you're so successful. The Colts come up to meet with him. Hey, man, you know what I mean? Either you draft me or you don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, it's cool. Like, that's the things we don't see is, obviously we can't see is how those interviews, how they went. How well the guys performed in those interviews that were conducted. That plays a huge part because, and it's tough because it's only, you may get that one interview with the guy, right? But first impression is everything. So, if my first impression during these interviews of a guy who comes in and, he's cocky and it's all about him and it's not about the team, he's my quarterback. And I feel like he doesn't have the ability to be able to elevate the play of the guys around him based upon that short interview that I have, well, then that guy may fall on your board. You know what I mean? So it's crazy, man. It's a lot that goes into it. That we don't see.
I'm trying to remember. There was a player who Gruden was just talking about him. I'm trying to remember who it was, but it was the one meeting that he had with him, but he had been in meetings all day.
Yeah.
And he met him, and I guess like Gruden just didn't like his attitude. And I want to say,
how can you not like his quarterback, man? That stuff's awesome.
I want to say it was either Burrow or one of them. It was something about he just didn't like his attitude, and he was like, "Would never draft this guy. He won't be successful." And now he's like an amazing QB in the NFL.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. It's all a crapshoot anyway. You know what I mean? It's like he may have been all world in college, get to the league, and all of a sudden you're like, man, what happened to him? Well, his game didn't translate. He changed. Yeah. So it's a crapshoot, man. That's why a lot of homework has been done. You talk about, he's a clean prospect in terms of, his personality, his medical, all that stuff, is key in this.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. If you can get to the Steelers, it's never a bad thing. You can slide your way to the Steelers. It's never a bad thing. Let's finish it out here, J Mack, as the draft is going to be tomorrow. That's tomorrow. We saw some dogs today. We saw some dogs yesterday. The NBA playoffs have been going on. J Mack, we've seen a couple of crazy games this week. Who is your dog of the week?
So I'm going to start off with my dog, Luka. Yes. The Lake Show came back and won last night with a great game, man. I was excited. Luka, he had 31 points. I think it was how many rebounds? 12 rebounds, 9 assists.
That's exactly
triple double.
Yeah.
Luka's gonna be Luka. He's gonna ball, he's gonna score. But just to see the impact that he's had, after being traded to the Lakers, the impact that he's had on that team, him being able to play with LeBron and them, succeeding. I love it, man. So I'm excited. He won me some money last night too, so I appreciate you, my dog. My dog of the week, Luka.
That's two different. Not only is he a dog, but he's your dog this week for helping the bank account. Dog. I get you.
My other one, real quick, Pat. Sorry, my guys for last week, that came out to Carmel, practiced on our field, got some work in. The Bears D linemen, Javon Dexter, Austin Booker, Daniel Hardy, Dominique Robinson. Those guys is putting in work, man. They hear all this draft talk about getting edges and defensive linemen. Those guys are putting in work. They look good too. So shout out to my dogs, the Bears defensive linemen. They came out and put some work in at our school this past week.
I love it. I love seeing the work, man. So far, anybody attributed with you is putting in extra work. You putting some pressure on them. Like Rome was like, I'm going on a podcast with J Mack. Let me get this extra set in. I look good on this mud. I'm in here small.
It seems that way. The only extra work I've been putting in is with a fork. That's it. Let me get that sweet potato pie. Let me get some more cheesecake.
Yeah, you're doing better than me. I've been extra work I've been putting in is with a Miller Lite. So
it's that type. Hey, it's getting nice outside. The barbecue grill.
Come on now. Firing the grill
outside,
up,
man. Yeah,
gotta
fire the grill up. I'm telling you.
You know what? I'm gonna go opposite just because, and it's not even now. He did win game one, and he balled out in game one, and lost game two. My dog of the week is Anthony Edwards, because you know what? We live in a world where Tyrese Halliburton is only talking trash when he up. You know what I mean? Like, we live in a world where Tyrese Halliburton is only talking trash when he up.
Right.
Anthony Edwards is talking trash down 15, down 10, brings the team back. They down 2. Luka go on a run. He's still talking trash to Luka. Anthony Edwards is my dog of the week because he is literally, by the way, he doing this by himself. Julius Randle is doing everything he can to sell a game in every single way possible. Bro, Julius Randle think he Anthony Davis and Kobe Bryant rolled up into one. Like, I don't like, bro, he be killing me out there, bro. I was like, bro, pass the ball to the best player on the team.
This Julius Randle for me, right? How old are you, son? You're 30? Boy, you look like you're 50. That's Julius Randle. Boy, you look every bit of 50, Julius. You're playing like it too, son.
And the sad part is he actually had a solid game. He actually had a good game last night, but it was like at every point where Minnesota was on a run, there's Julius Randle trying to like back somebody down that he can't move. Throw some stuff up. And then Rudy Gobert, I ain't gonna even get started on Rudy Gobert, bro. He should be banned from basketball.
Edwards is a dog, though, bro. He's got like that. He talks trash and he has that devious smile, that little smile. He always like, he's always like, man, that dude. I love Anthony Edwards, man. He's a monster, bro.
Hey, J Mack, let me ask you something. What's the football equivalent of being 7'1" with a 7'9" wingspan and having 6 rebounds in a game?
The equivalent, a player?
What's the football equivalent of that?
I don't know, man. I don't think. Is there anybody? Ain't nobody in the league that's 7'1".
Would that be, I'm just saying, like the equivalent of just like, hey, you 7'1" with a 7'9" wingspan and you got 6 rebounds in 2 games.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Like, yeah, I mean, is that Bayless Jones fumbling on the first play of the game?
Man, leave Bayless alone, man.
Never.
Crushing, stop.
Never. Hey, he's still in the league. Shout out there. I think he got signed by the Saints. He got a couple more years left in him.
Bayless gonna be Bayless get the right fit, understands. You know what I'm saying? He gets in the right scheme. Don't be surprised.
Hey,
and then we're gonna be mad. Oh, we had Bayless Jones, man. We had. I'm trying to hype him up.
Unless they fit him with some new hands, there is no such thing as the right fit. Hey, man, appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page. Leave that 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. I don't know what to do with my hands. That's how you got the ball. McKie, it's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again, man. Of course, we'll be back post-draft to break down every single pick and everything that happens over the weekend, man. Y'all stay safe out there in Chicago. Bed down. One love. Peace.